So hi everyone. Thanks a lot for joining in, and it's good to see some similar faces and also some new ones that are joining us. At OLake, we have been hosting some multiple community sessions throughout the month, some deep dives, and also some good templates to keep you in line on our LinkedIn, on our socials. So this time we went ahead and wanted to keep things more interesting and some things that can be more in touch with the community side. So as we are expanding our community more, we wanted to get some perspectives from your end and also get to know how you are working around in the Apache Iceberg ecosystem. So while keeping you engaged and also building on the world's fastest data replication tool, so for now, before we jump into the introduction of our speakers, for now, you can go ahead and use our chat. So drop in a hi wherever you're joining from. So I'm here joining off from Delhi and wherever you're joining from around the world, drop in and connect off with the various people that are also here. And we're soon going to be starting off. So we are waiting for our speakers to join in, Jacopo and Shubham. So we will be diving on. So yeah, we have sweet number of people. So yeah, so we are going ahead with the starting off with the event. We're just waiting for the Jacopo as well. And yeah, okay.
Can you see me, guys?
Yeah, I can say hi, hi, Jacopo.
Hi, awesome.
Yeah,
Sorry, like the boomer moment, I couldn't find how to join the stage. Now I think
happens.
I'm good.
Happens. So yeah, everyone, we are at OLake. We are working on building one of the fastest data replication tool in the world to get your data into Iceberg and at a rate of 5 to 500 times faster than other alternatives that are there in the market. So you might have heard about Airby, Debezium, and even worked around with Fivetran. We provide a good alternative to that along with some good documentation. So if you are someone who are a benchmark kind of guy, you can check out our site at OLake.io. And this time, we will go ahead and not only keep things in kind of slides or just like a formal talk. We are achieving to do something cozy, something conversational, and a fun, proper fireside chat. So we are thinking of aiming and keeping it like a podcast format. So you might be seeing at the bottom right there is a chat menu. Yeah, you guys have already dropped in your hi and wherever you're joining from. So hello Nabil, hello Amit, hello Anshika, hello Dipanshu, and hello everyone. You can drop in your questions here. I will be taking them off. Make sure to use the questions tab for the questions. And at the same time, if you have something else that is swinging you around, you can use our chat. So and also, we have been taking off things mostly onto the side of the fireside chat. So today we have been joined on by two incredible guests, both CTOs, both builders, and redefining what the modern data systems can do. And so, joining me first, we have Jacopo, the CTO at Bauplan. And for the ones who don't know, Bauplan is a very fascinating company, and it is going ahead and making data operations safer, more structured, and also production ready. So if you're someone who is dealing onto the side of operations, it's something you can go ahead and find them around. And also like a very fun detail. So the name Bauplan actually comes from the word blueprint. So which is pretty fitting if you think about what they do. So Bauplan is all about giving the data team reliable blueprint to build upon, transactions, versioning, and also some multi-table safety. And if you're someone who is dealing onto the side of deploying the data and AI application using the serverless Python functions, this is the company and the person you can look out to. And a brief about Jacopo. So he's been leading this company, working around with a set of people and his team, writing some papers, speaking at various global events, and has a great, unique way of connecting to the engineering rigor with the practical design. So, Jacopo, we are really super excited to have you here. Welcome. If you just want to say a hi to the various audience.
Of course. Thanks so much. Thank you much for having me. Thanks everybody. At any time or day. I don't know what time of day anybody is, but like thanks for joining. I hope it's not too late at night or too early in the morning. I'm super happy to be here and super thrilled to talk about the evolution of the Lakehouse vision, and how these two vision that I think we both as CTOs kind of like champion like the fast ingestion, so how to get data into the lakehouse in the first place, which is problem number one, obviously, and then how to get out insights, tables, models, dashboards, whatever, out of those tables, which is problem number two, and how these two things kind of like work well together.
Yeah. So pretty interesting, and we are looking forward to have some good set of conversation. And also, it's necessary to dive into the side of the CTO's life, how they're managing their teams, how they're dealing with the technical side. And yeah, guys. So up next, you have seen someone all over our community, Shubham. He is the founder and CTO at OLake. So one of the offerings from the company Datazip. And OLake is a open source data ingestion engine, and that's been making waves around the Apache Iceberg region that I already told you about. And we have been working on systems related to Postgres, MySQL, MongoDB, and also very recently been supporting Kafka. And Shubham been leading that journey onto the technical side, and also leading onto the side by using Golang. And yeah, up again, Shubham, it's great to have you in the hot seat this time, and instead of behind those release notes. So, hi, if you just want to say hi.
Yeah, hey, hi everyone. I think a couple of you have seen me already in the community calls that we have. And hey, hi Jacopo. Like it's first time that we are having a session like this, so it would be really interesting to see the different side of the coins. Uh, yeah. So hey, again, hi everyone. Like excited to be the part of this session.
Great, great. So, guys, if you just want to say hi, use our chat for that. And I'm seeing all of your whoever is joining us. So, we would be pretty interesting to see you guys around. And so, yeah, like just a question from my end, or things that's sprouting up on my side. So, why these together, right? And of course, well, it's a good reason. So, if you think about how the data architectures work, right? They start with ingestion and end with operations. Shubham and Jacopo represent both ends of that spectrum, ingestion and control. And together, they have been painting a complete picture of how modern data systems actually function in production side. And today, we are aiming to bring both perspectives together. And if you're someone who is managing or scaling an Apache Iceberg based setup, this conversation is going to be a full takeaway for you. And of course, we will going ahead and explore the both sides, the ingestion performance, schema evolution, and of course, very interesting with the future of AI agents. A news that has been popping around and also pretty information for everyone. So let's set the stage. So before we try to dive into the technical side and also get everyone in the audience to break the ice a little. So yeah, Jacopo, how has been the day for you? For like how like what you've been keeping busy nowadays? What are your projects you are diving into with you and your team?
So for me, is the morning, so the day has not been very long,
Oh.
and I got sort of started by, so I'm traveling, so I'm in an hotel now, and so I started by the fire drill of the hotel this morning, which was obviously not anticipated. And that's been the most eventful thing this morning. I usually, so my normal day, aside from traveling, is I wake up and typically in New York most of the time, which is where I reside. My colleagues in Europe are ahead of me, and so I typically wake up with an update on what they're doing. We typically do Loom and Slack to kind of like sync up on stuff. So I typically do that while I start my day around 7 with coffee, and then I start getting my work, getting into the office. We have an office in New York, office San Francisco. Go to the office and then start the New York activities. And then by noon, my colleagues in the Pacific time start working, and so now they start kind of like going online, and so it's my job to catch them up and start chatting with them to prepare for the day. And then the day unfolds in the opposite direction. It's like FIFO, right? So and then people in Europe go out first, because of course it's dinner, is like dinner for them. And then I will stay longer until people in Pacific time will basically end their day. So there's good and bad things about being a distributed company, and
Yeah.
I can go into that. But like, so my day, since I'm in the middle, as a New Yorker, kind of like stretch both the early side in Europe and the late side in Pacific time.
Wow. Pretty interesting. Like, of course, like someone or like people that are working often to the remote side, it's like very different and how to keep the things aligned, how to set up the meetings so that time don't fall, and also how to keep things busy. Pretty interesting. So, guys, you heard Jacopo. One of the very eventful things that happened today with him was a fire alarm. But yeah, of course, he's been keeping things at a very integral side, how he's managing the teams. So pretty interesting to know out there, Jacopo. And now of you, Shubham, so how it's been for you? Like you have been like I guess juggling multiple releases, builds recently, and especially like on the side of Kafka side of OLake, right? Supporting one of its very recent offerings. So how are the things going on that side?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like my day started a little sick, so it's changing the weathers in Bangalore. Like it's been
Mm.
starting of the summer, sorry, winter. So I think I'm a little sick in with respect to a bit of fever and cough. But yeah, I think the day has been pretty great because we were busy in launching the version 0.2.9 of OLake, and a lot of interesting bug fixes and the features up there. Apart from this, yeah, I think couple of really interesting things. We recently worked on a benchmark for Iceberg versus like Databricks ecosystem. So we did a TPCH benchmark. Yeah, and I think I was just reviewing the blog the other day. But overall, my day starts a little late because in Bangalore usually the office starts around 10:30 or so, and
Mm.
then I end up working till 8:30, and maybe a couple of hours in the night as well. If there are some US related calls, as there are certain times there are. So yeah, that's a pretty much usual day for me. Yeah.
Wow. So, like, for the ones that want some kind of inspiration, I guess these two people are great to know that. So, like, they are covering off onto the side of 24 hours and even going on to the next day. So, that's pretty good. And it's great to like see and that both of you are on the side of the builder zone and you're managing the teams. And it's always like refreshing to hear how the people who shape the tools are living their day-to-day life. So, and yeah, I think we are good and pretty much warmed up. So, let's go and dive onto the technical side of things. So, jumping straight onto the real stuff, of course, like the data infrastructure world has like gone through a wild ride since the last few years, right? With the growth of AI and with the growth of even onto the side of data engineering. And everyone's been talking about the real-time systems, stable format, ingestion speeds, and even compaction cycles. And yet, still, most teams still feel the pain of building and maintaining some reliable data platforms. So, I just want to start by asking, like, both of you, like, what was the specific moment in your journey when you said, like, okay, like, that's like maybe enough, right? I need to build something new. Like, of course, like Shubham, I've been following up. Like, you have been working at Pepe, you have been working at ShareChat, you've been working in handling the data engineering side. So, of course, time sprouts up in the set of people like maybe like I can target this side or I can start to build something new. So, Shubham, like, let's start with you.
Yeah, cool. So I think I'll quickly jump into the questions. So like a bit of story or background about myself. So I was working as a data engineering manager in one of the big gaming companies here in India. And what has happened is like I wanted to hire a couple of people for my team because we had a lot of data requirements growing up. So we when I started hiring for the last company or the previous company, one of the common challenges that we were having is basically the amount of candidates who would apply to the candidates who would pass was really drastically small. Like the ratio was pretty less. So one thing that I realized is in the market it's pretty difficult to hire like good data engineers. As a I have worked as a data engineer in multiple companies in India and abroad. So that and most of the companies that I was working for, they are like good in terms of valuation, the size, then I realized that if bigger companies like ours, we are facing so much problem to hire good engineers, how are smaller companies managing their data pipelines today, right?
Hmm.
It's pretty like interesting. So I started talking to a lot of people. Fortunately around the same time I met my co-founders Rohan and Sandeep, and then we realized that there is a need for a small and a easy data tool in the market where most of the pipeline steps, right, ingestion or ingestion, BI, governance, warehousing, all of them are combined into a simple full stack data platform. So we started creating a product called OneStack. So previous product of Datazip is called OneStack, right? And after that, we scaled the product. We were profitable for a couple of months. We had a really good journey for almost 2.5 years. But suddenly, what has happened was, we saw this big opportunity in the market in like last year, which was Iceberg, right? And we all, while developing all of this, we learned a lot in terms of what are the needs of the people, where people are lacking, and one of the it was kind of unfortunate that we decided to start developing something around Iceberg as well. So we started we had 100+ discovery calls. We realized that right now the Iceberg train is leaving. It's really early days of Iceberg, but the common problem that we have heard from the discoveries was, it's difficult to get your data into the Iceberg, because a lot of enterprises like Iceberg had a lot of innovation, but when we talk to actual customers, a lot of people were facing that it's difficult to get the data first, and that's the first step, right? So we decided, like, why not we simply start with an open source ingestion tool, which has one of its own one of the major kind of a features as a speed, because Iceberg, when companies adopt Iceberg, is usually like terabytes to petabyte scale. We usually don't do it for a couple of hundred GBs, right? For the people who want to get the data from databases or Kafka, which are the usual high volume sources, there was not many options available. So that's where we started to build one tool. So the journey has been pretty it's different for most of the founders, but for us, it was first like we were trying to go too wide, but then we realized, like, why not we focus on high scale and actual innovation, because Iceberg is having a lot of innovation. So we pivoted to Iceberg and we started creating OLake for last 1 year almost.
Wow, that's like pretty great. And usually, like, it's for every other engineer out there. They might have worked at a particular company, and they might have seen the things at a first-hand level. They might have some good lunch table conversations before they go ahead and think about a good idea. And it's great that you have a good set of team, good set of co-founders to help you along the way. So that's one of the very integral things. And like, of course, like, I've had some good conversations with the people as well. So like, there are some initial startups that don't deal with that much kind of data, but I think Iceberg is something that would come with them down the line, right? So once they're dealing with huge set of data, it's something they will come across. So pretty interesting to see. Like, there are a lot of other companies like Delta Lake or Hoodie, but it's great that we are having a good ingestion tool to take care of onto the side of Apache Iceberg. So that's pretty good. And yeah, so Jacopo, how about you? Like, what pushed you toward building Bauplan?
So Bauplan is our second company. So the first company we built was a company doing natural language processing and AI before it was easy. So when there was no API, you actually have to do the entire work and understand language. And we sold the company, and was leading AI at the company, AI and MLOps at the company that acquired us, which became a public company in its own regard. So went IPO and all of that. So we went from the first generation. Our own company was based on Spark, Airflow. It was back, 2017, so a different time. And then the company that acquired us was on the warehouse generation. So I was on the data lake. They were on the warehouse generation, so they bought into the Snowflake ecosystem. So we used Snowflake for years. And when it was time to leave and build the second company, the same team that built the first company is the same people that built the second company. We wanted to solve the problem that we had ourselves, at the first company and the second company, and the problem was everybody wants to do modeling, but training is one line of code, like model.fit, model.predict, and a few more stuff. 98% of my job, even when there was a model to train, which is not true anymore, 90% of the job was getting the data in a good shape, was cleaning the data, was making sure that every hour is idempotent and writes exactly the same hour if I want to do it again, and all of these things, right? And so we decided to solve the problem that we had for so many years, and that is still a huge part of data engineering. More than 40% of the time, still today, data engineers do not build new feature, do not serve their own internal customer. They do babysit and maintain things already built because things break all the freaking time. And the Lakehouse paradigm was promising two things: openness. Everything is in the customer bucket and we can coexist into that, all the iceberg narrative. We bought into this 2023. So at that time was kind of like, it was kind of like a kind of like more of a dream. I think now we're like, I mean, I'm interested to see what you want to say, but like 30-40% there. So there's way less interoperability in practice than what people wants it to be in theory. But 30% is more than zero. Like it's much bigger than zero, which was when we started, and it was our previous company. So that's great. So that's one foundation of the Lakehouse that we definitely marry. And the other thing, again, 2023, there was kind of like a bit ahead of its time, was everything needs to be code. API for like the next generation of platform will be built in APIs and code. And maybe we're gonna talk about automation and agents at the end, but like we did that in 2023 not because there was agents around, but because we as people were tired of clicking of bloated product when you have to click around a million things. It's not reproducible, and now you need to one point, like you need large team in large organization just to bring one pipeline to production. A, is that needed? B, what everybody else that doesn't have 4 platform teams can do, if even people with 4 platform team takes 2 weeks to productionize a pipeline. And so by this kind of like insight, Bauplan was born, and then a lot of excruciating building later, and few release down the road. We, after maybe a year, we had our first enterprise customer live in production, and now it's like 18 months later, we run hundreds of thousands of jobs per week. We have customers ranging from small like Series C, Series B to Series C startup to thousands of people, enterprises. And the platform, while not generally available, is still in production with our what we call early customers, right? They're not design customers anymore. The platform is in production and it works, and it's fully featured for most use cases. But we're still not generally available because there are still a few things that we want to just make sure we kind of like cross the T's and dot the I's before having a completely self-service Snowflake-like option at some point. So that's kind of like a journey. So by trade, I built a lot of data pipelines in my life, and I did a lot of data science and ML, but I never built infrastructure before. So this is my first company building infrastructure, and we couldn't have done it with our exceptional set of advisors and investors, and of course our team, which at the end of the day does most of the job while I'm here talking. So yeah.
Wow, pretty interesting. Like I've been following Bauplan, and I've been like looking onto site as well. So you will have some good set of, I would say, a team as well as some set of friends as well. I would say it's pretty good to see all of you guys working together, and of course, like as you stated, a lot of iterations go through when you are creating a company, because you have a lot of things jumping on, and of course that would have been really helpful with the amount of experience you have with you and your set of team. So pretty great to know. And of course, like as I stated, thanks a lot for pushing on to the side of blueprint for the company. So pretty interesting. And over here, our chat has been popping up, and we are seeing Mario, who just said that that in Latin America that they have just started using Apache Spark, and Databricks have introduced the use of Data Lake. So yeah, Mario, like you are saying, Delta Lake and also Apache Iceberg ecosystem is the one that has been growing very, very rapidly. So like not on the side of maybe I would say like when it will come across Latin America, but of course global side, it's been very much on a side of a very rapid rate. So sure, if you wanna dive onto the side of Apache Iceberg and have a good set of conversations, OLake and Bauplan would be very integral things you can start off. And yeah, Nabil is having a question, so let me see if it falls into this thing. So he said, since we are talking about Iceberg, as a data engineer, I'm facing an issue that Iceberg V2, that is used for now, has no compatibility with Spark streaming. Do you have any idea of using Iceberg in a real world streaming context? Because I'm convinced that Iceberg is not conceptually adapted to streaming. Like, yeah, Jacopo, you want to answer that?
I mean, disgracefully, my understanding of streaming is pretty limited. What I would say, so my contentious topic is contentious point is as follows. There's one important use case for streaming, which is moving data from point A to point B. That's the backbone of most data infrastructure, right? Whether it is Postgres, whether it is a web app, you need to move data from point A to B, and that's fine. There is another concept of streaming, which is as the data comes in, I want to run some calculation. I would advise everybody to think not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 10 times before making sure that they need that, in the sense that a lot of people, oh wow, fire drills. A lot of people, or maybe now maybe it's a real fire, so maybe I'm actually gonna die. I don't know. Sorry about this.
No worries, no worries. It's Shubham,
yeah. So my point, like, is people in most business context, people can wait 10 minutes. You should really hard press your internal customer to say why you want this to be in streaming. Why can it be 15 minutes? Why can it be half an hour? You'll be surprised by asking that question how many headache you will save. Because then streaming semantics, even for SQL, and like requires a completely different set of understanding, a completely different set of tools. Everybody hates them. And like, if you believe that data pipelines are hard, data pipelines in streaming are like hard times 10. And unless you're doing one of the very, very few use cases, like fraud detection, like, which is mostly financial use cases in which you need to do the calculation on the spot, my suggestion is go to Iceberg, ingest, go to Iceberg, snapshot, and then run your pipeline with whatever you want, Spark, Bauplan, whatever you prefer to do. So mine is, I'm afraid I don't answer the question. But what I'm trying to say that for everybody else is like, before going to streaming, try to do everything that you possibly can to not do streaming. Because the moment in which you want to do streaming and you go to object storage, you already lose 200 milliseconds, right? So this is even not real time anymore. So my question is like, is it really necessary? I don't know if you guys have similar use cases or have similar experience in your life.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And I think Nabil already got the idea. So Shubham, you want to add on anything on this?
I mean, like, to be specific to Spark streaming, as far as I know, usually the question itself has some level of answer itself. Like, Spark streaming or any kind of streaming is not that compatible with Iceberg. Iceberg is supposed to be the data at rest. Usually, if you want to use like huge sub-second latency for your streaming use cases, I strongly suggest people to go with a Flink if they want to go anything lesser than 10 seconds or so. Anything more than a couple of minutes, you should try to use normal ELT or ETL workloads, because as Jacopo mentioned, like it's pretty less on the complexity side. It's easier to build the pipeline. But to answer the question specifically, I don't think so. The Spark streaming has any incompatibility with the Iceberg side of the things. Just the fact that when we were discovering, having a lot of discoveries with the people, a couple of companies mentioned that they started with Spark streaming. They faced a lot of technical challenges, but few of them were able to get the data, like the pipelines working with Spark streaming as well, right? So I would like say, like, it's not a problem of Spark streaming or Spark. I think maybe you're missing out on some level of configurations or some scaling configs.
Cool. Nice. And I think, Nabil, you might have got the POVs of both the CTOs over here. So moving on. So like, it's interesting that like both of you have like called out complexity as one of the core enemy as well. So when the company is working around, and like you have also taken somewhat of different approaches as well to target. And so like Shubham, like you have been attacking it from the ingestion side, making the pipelines faster, simpler, and more direct. And while Jacopo, like you have gone onto the side of structuring and safety and creating some things onto the side of operations. So like another thing, so like, do you both see like your approaches as complementary, so like two halves of the same equation? performance and governance coming together? Jacopo.
I think so. There's like, when it comes to data, there's like a few dimensions you want to keep, right? Like one is like, let's mention the case of like, Postgres replication performance, in a sense of like, can I see the effect of a change in Postgres as fast as possible in my lake, versus can I do that at a high throughput? If I make 1,000 changes in this minute, will I see all the 1,000 changes immediately? And that's one dimension. The other one is cost. Like, you don't want your data stack to cost more than the application that creates revenue. Doesn't mean that the data stack is not important, but there needs to be a balance, right? And the third one is simplicity. Okay, you don't want something that to operate is so complex that maybe now I'm saving some money, maybe now it's very fast, but now I need 10 people to do it, because the 10 people still cost money, opportunity cost, and all of that, right? So I think these, to me, when I think about a system, that's kind of the main axis, right? So faster, better, cheaper. You know what I mean? Like the typical thing. In this respect, my understanding of Shubham philosophy and the product that you guys building is, you want things to be simple, and in that things there's a line super much with Bauplan, right? If you have a simple ingestion, simple meaning no nonsense, no bullshit, it's easy to set up, it works. I don't have to go back to this every day to check that it works. It's fine. Like, I did it and it's okay. And then you have a no-nonsense pipeline that produce the assets for your data science team or for your dashboard. I think the combination of these two is very powerful, because we talk the same language at the object storage, your bucket, your iceberg. And then we talk the same language in one of the axes that I just described, the developer experience, right? We believe things need to be simple. You believe that things need to be simple. So the same team that appreciate both, that appreciate one, is likely to appreciate the other, as they're kind of like, one next. If you think about the stack, they're like one next to the other. I don't know if you share the same feelings.
Yeah, sure. Do you agree?
I think in terms of, look, I have tried Bauplan. I have been trying it for last 2 days, and in terms of simplicity, it's one of the most simplest data engineering tools I have tried. You don't have to worry about if my infrastructure is going to scale, if a couple of other issues, like, let's say, if what happens if there is a huge join and a sudden spike of the data. I don't have to worry about that. So I think the philosophy that we have at OLake is pretty much the same. Usually when we see the current set of ingestion tools, right, what do you have to get in line to get your data into Iceberg, or maybe simple Parquet? Let's say we talk about building it from the scratch. You need Debezium, you need a Kafka, you need also some level of Spark or some other pipelines, Flink, like that, right? But is it like does it have to be that hard? We have built these pipelines in at Pepe, which caters to almost 1/3 of the Japanese population. So at that point, three out of the 10 people, we were just focused on maintaining our Debezium, Kafka, Spark setup. So and we were like so happy when we achieved like 10 minutes. We presented to the whole company. We have been able to achieve something great. But my thought process around this is, right now in the market, there is no simpler solution to get your data directly from these sources into Iceberg without having to deal with three middlewares, or without having to burn a hole in your pocket, right? Imagine if you use Fivetran or Airbyte for this kind of a thing. It will be so expensive that if you want to sync the data using Fivetran, and you're getting like hundreds of thousands of updates every couple of hours, or couple of 12 hours, you would be, the companies would go bankrupt if you go by the pricing that they offer, even if they discount it like almost 3 times. So, and this we have been interacting with a lot of companies, and they were mentioning to us as a problem. So wanted to build something really fast and simple, and not much of a engineering heavy, with a lesser cost, because it's not like we have this as a leverage. We have to build it because people who are using Iceberg, they're expecting their data to be there in like terabytes, couple of terabytes every day. If there's streaming events, it would be a couple of tens of terabytes a day. So if you want to build pipelines at this scale, either you have to go for a huge engineering team, or you have to buy a expensive tool like Tableflow or Fivetran. So we wanted to go for something which solves both.
Yeah, pretty cool. That's really nice to see. Like both of the companies like are working in harmony and supporting a complete circle around. And also, I'm seeing Nitish in the chat. Nitish, we will get back to your question in time. So like, stay tuned. Like we are just working on getting the things much more sped up. So like yeah, Shubham. So I've been following up the OLake, and of course the benchmarks are also being pretty good. You have been hitting on to the side of over 300,000 rows per second over there on Postgres. So like pretty huge numbers, and like you are also aiming to do better. And of course, like that's insane throughput. And like, but beyond the speed, like what do you think matters about real world ingestion? Because like, of course, like Netflix was the company who sprouted up with Apache Iceberg, right? And it's a video streaming service. They have to keep things very fast. So like, if you all want to answer this, like, what do you think about this?
I think speed definitely matters if you're doing, like, let's say, a historical load of the data where you have terabytes in your databases. Like, so we were in conversations with one of the German enterprise company in health tech. They have 300 terabytes in their Oracle today. So if they want to get that data using a Debezium or a simpler tool, they will take like forever to get that data into Iceberg, right? So I think there are two factors to the speed. First is getting the historical data, especially when it comes to our databases. So that I think we need to. So the way the architecture of OLake, and it's an open source project, right? So we have fully focused on parallelizing things. Like we divide the tables and we have multiple distribution strategies to divide the tables into smaller chunks and then stream the data parallelly into Iceberg. But I think that's what we do for speed. But to answer the question, like speed, like exactly the speed matters for some time, but I think the things that matter more is the correctness of the data, right? The data types has to, like, if as close as the data types that you can map to the source, that is better. One of the problems that we have been seeing with a lot of other tools, like who are generic, right? They have m sources and n destinations, is that the data type usually they don't have that kind of tuning of, like, if I have a let's say geographical data type in my Postgres, is that going to be like geographical data type in my Iceberg, right? That has to be managed. Now soon Iceberg is going to introduce variants, so all the JSON data in your MongoDB or any other tool can be mapped to variant, and you will get like good performance. So I think data correctness and data type, accuracy, like as closer you can get to the data type accuracy, that's more better, because you don't have to run one more sort of a pipeline in one more stage in your medallion architecture just to get the data types correct again, right?
Hmm.
Apart from that, I think a lot of things matter, like exactly one semantics. If whatever ingestion tool you're using, don't want to run one more step for deduplicating. If in case the data type changes or schema evolution happens, you want to get your data in a DLQ or dead letter queue kind of a thing. So, and then in Iceberg you have to handle that as well. So and that's, it's a little slightly tricky in Iceberg to handle that.
Hmm.
So I think from the perspective of to answer the question, speed matters a lot when you have huge data. uh, but what matters is the reliability and the correctness of the data. Reliability of the pipeline, obviously, if your pipeline breaks, it doesn't matter how much fast you are, right? So
Hmm.
that's something we also think about while we're designing any feature.
That's good. That's pretty interesting to see. Like, of course, like speed is one of the core things people and the companies target. But when is the need of that actually to happen? Like, so that you don't break any kind of pipeline, very integral to see. But yeah, Jacopo, coming back to you. So, like, as you stated, you are aiming on to get Bauplan onto the side of general availability, right? So, like, what would be your aim and any non-negotiables that would be in your mind? So, like, someone is using your platform. What would be the developer experience you would have in mind to keep along?
So there's a lot of things that need to happen for uh, Bauplan to be as simple as it is, right? Like, again, there's a free sandbox. Everybody here, if you don't trust me, if you don't believe me, you can go online, sign in on Google, on Bauplan Labs, and try that yourself. When you Bauplan run, your code gets shipped to the cloud, a container gets built, your code gets snapshot, your state of delay gets versioned, things get planned, things get sent to a worker. the worker produce a result, the arrow stream needs to be fed to the other. Like there's a million things. They're like 100. Like when you look at a trace of one Bauplan run, for you as a user is a run. For me as a system builder, it's like hundreds of traces. Okay, like it's a gigantic list of things that need to happen. So for this to be generally available, there's a few things on top of this that will make this seamless for people to start a new account, get their own catalog, pair their own bucket safely, making sure egress cost and all of that makes sense when as you scale your control plane. Like all of these things, which have nothing to do with the fundamental experience of running Bauplan, which can't stress enough, you can do it today yourself, but they have to do with the experience of the end-to-end purchase or try experience that you have as a real company, not just as somebody who wants to try a product. Okay. And so these things, I don't say they are not core, they're obviously important for the platform to mature, but they're not blockers in the sense that, as our customer prove, you can basically sit down with me and the team for an hour. We do the pairing of the buckets, we do the security check, the encryption, the things that we need to do, and then you're good to go. You don't ever have to talk to us again if you don't want to.
Yeah.
But all of that things, it's a lot of engineering cost to automate it out of the box, and it doesn't improve any of our business question. Like it's not if I invested now 6 months to do the self sign-on that proved that the platform was, I don't know, more performant or more nice or more suited for some use cases. So we decided to invest first into the platform itself, the ergonomics, the working, the transactions, and all of that, and then leave for when we believe we're mature enough, the scaffolding around it, which is all this, again, infra security ops that needs to happen for this to be kind of like on the internet. And so we look forward, hopefully to start very soon this journey. But right now, you have to balance your priorities as a product and your priorities as a company, right? Sometimes the best thing for the company is not investing in further in the product. Maybe it's investing in reliability or is investing in doing some work with the customers. And that thing needs to wait until the next stage on the company phase.
Yeah, exactly. To everyone over here in the chat and the audience. So as stated, like it's usually the migration and when you're talking the things onto the side of Apache Iceberg, the things are like not exactly like ripping off and then just simply replacing. So like there's a lot of things that come gradually, the things we have to learn, the perspectives you have to give. So like this was one of the things like you might be seeing Jacopo also targeting. So like developer experience is one of the core things when you are even creating on Apache Iceberg, creating a product to build upon. So this was a sweet chatter around the developer experience, what we are thinking of eBay. And so let's talk about the star of the show, the Apache Iceberg. It's clearly having its moment in 2025, right? So like as we are speeding up this particular session, we have so from Netflix to LinkedIn to now companies like OLake and Bauplan, we are seeing the wave converging, right? So Jacopo, like let's start with you on this. Like what made Iceberg think for you? Like if you are building around Bauplan, why would it be a good and integral choice?
We picked up Iceberg 2000, like a long time ago. I think at that time, there was like just a few companies building on Iceberg, because that's what we thought. There are like two main open format at the time, Delta and Iceberg, and there are small technical merits to each of them, which I do personally believe are irrelevant for 99% of the cases. Like if you're debating too much which one is the best one, it means you don't have enough things to do. Unless you're a very, very, very specific part of the population that have very, very specific needs. And we picked Iceberg. Why? Because Iceberg felt like it was more community-backed and community-driven, right? There were different companies building on that. There was not just, there was like a very, very primordial non-Java client, which was Python at the time. Then a Rust one will follow. Like it felt a bit less tied to an ecosystem than Delta. And so we bet that customers that are not already on the Lakehouse and they will want to build a Lakehouse, they will want to buy the optionality of the Lakehouse, by picking, if they can, Iceberg over Delta in most cases. And B, we bet on the fact that a community around Iceberg will grow faster in the open source tooling around Iceberg, which I think, again, both bets were correct, because Iceberg was not really was not really tied to a specific stack, but it was like, hey, I mean, you know what, this is an open format, this is a spec, you can do whatever you want. And so this was the reason to pick Iceberg then. And I think now those reasons are not just confirmed, the entire ecosystem doubled down. Like, Iceberg has obviously a better community support than any other format. And now even the very, very big player, AWS, STTables, whatever, Snowflake, which reluctantly, have Iceberg as well. Like, all of these companies are betting on this, which makes me think that, if you want to start tomorrow, and you don't have one of these crazy use cases in which you need a very, very specific set of trade-offs, Iceberg is the place to build, because every ingestion tool is gearing to that, every transformation tool is gearing to that, and the world is converging on top of it. So we're very happy about the choice that we made.
Okay, that's good. So, like everyone in the chat that is joining us globally, you might be seeing the Apache Iceberg ecosystem. Like we have been seeing things from first hand as well, from the meetups till the point of the offerings, till that point of catalogs. The people are just pumping in and they are just working on how they can make it easier to be adopted with the company. So it's going to be a good walkthrough and a good step one if you are a data engineering company. So like Shubham, same for you. Like if you want to briefly mention like OLake as a brief, mention this very much on this site. Like they are exclusively built for Apache Iceberg. So why not Delta Lake, Hoodie? Why Iceberg native from day one?
So I think while I was working in 2020 back so one of the first formats that came in was Apache Hoodie, right after the Uber, and at Pepe we adopted Hoodie. We were one of the first enterprise level adoption for Hoodie, and when we use Hoodie, like I realized that that's going to be the whole game changer. I might be fortunate, like I got to work on Hoodie, but I'll keep my answer really short because we are low on the time. So when I saw Hoodie and I used Hoodie, I knew that it's going to be a deal breaker for most of the companies out there because there is no vendor lock-in. I can query it using anything. At that point, we were querying Hoodie using I think Athena and Spark and a couple of other query engines. So at the same time, I was talking to a couple of other people in US or in Europe, they had almost about a couple of $1 million of builds in Snowflake Databricks, and that was growing on year, right? So if I have to answer that, like why not Hoodie? Because Hoodie, while we were working with Hoodie back then, like it was a little complex, and it was primarily for going little to streaming kind of a thing, and we had to optimize a lot. Like a team of 10 data engineers was working. Iceberg felt a little easier. Iceberg had some of the things that Iceberg lets you take care of that instead of managing it for you. And why not Delta is, I think, the same answer as Jacopo. It's just tied to Databricks too tightly. A couple of features that they open source right now, it's GA right now. We're not there in a year back or two. And we never wanted people to like get scared of what if Databricks does something crazy and you have to again pay for Databricks 2 years down the line, right? So being really straightforward, that's what one of the primary reason like we chose Iceberg. Yeah.
Okay, great. So of course, like Apache Iceberg is also like building onto the side of open source, right? So even we have like, for example, Delta Lake or other alternatives that are at the end of the day tied to our ecosystem. Apache Iceberg is something that solves. So like before we drop the contains on this particular side of things, Apache Iceberg, like Jacopo, do you think is there any particular space, for example, if a company is thinking about the migration, Delta Lake, Hoodie, or Iceberg, do you want to give like a sentence for each of them? Like use this for this particular thing, maybe use this for Delta Lake and Hoodie for this. So like they have a good opinion.
In my experience, the market is like the market outside of Database is like a 99.9% Iceberg. Hoodie is used by some large companies. They have streaming use cases typically of like low latency write type of things, which again, to my previous point, is a very, very niche problem in the great scheme of things. And on the other side, everybody that started with the Lakehouse 2023 or something like that is on Delta Lake because it was the only Lakehouse available at that time. And there was the default options into that. So most people they use Delta is because they happen to be on Delta. And so the platform they were using was just like using Delta behind the hood. Like our like if you are not on Iceberg already, most of our customers are not. They don't even know that. I mean, we tell them, but like there's nothing that is specific about Iceberg in Bauplan. Bauplan works at the logical level. Iceberg is an implementation detail. So in the same sense, people that started with Database 2023, maybe they didn't even know there was Delta Lake. They just know there was a table, and the table just happens to be Delta. So that's a great population. And then Iceberg is for everybody else. I think mid-sized enterprises building for generic use cases, not streaming or not that specific thing, and for people that wants or they need to buy into this thriving ecosystem when more of us keep on building on top, right? If you pick Iceberg, you get ingestion fast.
Yeah.
If you keep Iceberg, you get nice pipelines. If you get Iceberg, you get all up with, I don't know, data fusion or whatever. Like, there's a million things you can do, and it's a network effect. Plus, Iceberg as a spec keeps on evolving, maybe too fast. Now, there's a lot of things to migrate, but it was like the community is working in fixing some of the original misdesign that happened. And again, that's good to be part of this community because the majority of people will invest into this. So if you don't have any open format, my strong recommendation is really consider Iceberg before anything else.
That's nice. So it's great to shut off the curtain if someone is confused. So one integral thing. So let's jump on to the next integral theme. That's around AI agents. So everyone's going out there talking about them 2025, a very rapid advancements happening. And of course, Jacopo, you have written and spoken about this like quite a bit, right? So if you want to kick us off, because this is one of the very integral things I want to get your opinions of. At which particular point of time you think in pipelines AI agents fit, and if someone is working around with Bauplan, how will it fit for them?
So I don't like the term agents a lot because it looks like IP and it kind of doesn't mean anything. But agents in the sense of automation for part of the work of data engineering. I mean, I can argue it's already here, but definitely it will come. It will come because coding and software is the biggest market for Gen AI by now, like by a significant margin. And it's impossible to think that the only part of coding that is not going to be affected is the people that do data. That's just not a thing. However, data is different. Data it's full and it's cloud. Coding is local and it's a bunch of text files, right? Which is why I think we haven't seen the same type of like code revolution in data yet. My contrarian hypothesis and what Bauplan thinks, again, started way before agent, is if we build an infrastructure that is easy to use for an intern, that is easy to explain, is API first and code only, that is a good thing to do, and just so happens to be a thing that LLM do very well. So if you think about agents as your caffeinated interns, like a big clumsy interns that never stop working, you need to think about a platform that works for them. And I think my take is that we have enough intelligence in the reasoning model today to solve most data problem, most, not all. The bottleneck is that our infrastructure sucks. Our infrastructure tool, our lakehouses were built for a world of humans that click around and then multiple teams and then they hand over stuff and they have a Slack and all of that. But this is not the high concurrency kind of like chaotic world of agents that we're facing. So the fact that we build lakehouses that work very well for human, that's amazing, but they may not be the design ergonomics that work for agents. And that's where Bauplan, I think, shines and has a bit of a different feeling than most other platform. And our customers, as early as they are, they almost all use the Bauplan MCP. Like our customer, which are the type of people that really enjoy coding first platform, they really enjoy the Bauplan experience, they're the first one that immediately got hooked of like, wait, I use Cloud Code all the time. Can I just use Bauplan with that? And the answer, again, obviously is yes, because Bauplan is just a set of APIs. And so this is step one of automation. Before automating stuff, do that yourself in code. And I think we are already there. Like at least Bauplan customer are here with Bauplan MCP. Question is, how fast we go from this to full automation? And I think it's a question that nobody knows the answer to. But we believe this is going to happen anyway. So it's not going to be the next 6 months, it's going to be 12. But this is going to happen. And the question is your platform agent friendly, API friendly, or is your platform retrofitting a big UI to a new world? And I think this will result in very different developer experience.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. Like, of course, like at the end of the day, Bauplan is treating the pipelines and the ingestion tools just like Git, right? So treating the things like Git-like semantics for even the touching the sides of, for example, automation platforms or AI systems. I think, of course, like MCP do solves a great use case on that particular thing, and so we would be going ahead and diving on to the very like next integral questions. So Shubham, like you work around with ingestion, Jacopo, like you follow around with orchestration, right? So, like, what do you think, Shubham? Like in 5 years from now, like, do you think like most data platforms would be like agent capable, or like for example, touching on the side of ingestion or onto the side of production?
I think I have a really interesting take on this. So primarily, like I want to talk about like AI agents who are like which are basically helping people to query and write the most amount of like business logic when it comes to the medallion architecture. Like what's good is they're really getting good in writing, like let's say code or SQL or anything which gets the data from silver to bronze to silver, right? But I think one really interesting aspect where things are lacking is the context. AI needs a huge ton of context. If I have a column name CCW, right? How AI would ever know like what does that column mean? So in case of let's say delivery companies, I was talking to one of the big companies in India. CCW means city center warehouse and random things like this, right? I think AI would be really good in terms of writing the logic if you guide it to, right? But one thing that's really interesting is if by 2028 people are able to get all the context, including the business context, how the data was generated, where the data is coming from, I mean, and how the backend services are changing the logic to modify the data. I think that's really important for AI to know before it starts giving you the right SQL or right queries, right? So I think companies like Atlan, like there's a really famous company called Atlan, which gathers all the catalog information about your tables, your columns, and how they were generated. I think if people are able to get all of their context into I think that then it can automate a lot of things. But unless like if companies are not able to do this, it's really difficult. This is my opinion, and I think really there's really a funny meme that every time I open LinkedIn, sometimes I see that like CEO is going to push you like, okay, I want to basically get my next AI initiative, but when you go down the hill, like it's like your data platform is burning, right?
Yeah.
And the heaven CEO is coming up with the next set of AI initiatives, but that needs your data platform to be sorted out with all of these information, and the correct quality of the data has to be really good. That would be my take on it. Like it's really difficult without this.
Yeah, like exactly. Like of course, like with the growth of AI, it's mostly been people are just looking forward to push AI into everything, but it doesn't fit everywhere. Of course, a lot of companies are still trying to get the AI working as something they will be believing into, something like that takes care of a particular set of a department. Like of course, it might take some kind of time onto the data engineering side, but a lot of advancements are happening. It's been pumping up onto the side of Twitter and LinkedIn, but pretty great. So after touching of things onto the AI, we are slowly moving on to a very last themes that gonna be before just the Q&A. So of course, so like Jacopo, like you have mentioned, of course, like related to Bauplan that the clients are also working around and trying to find a way for fast reliable way to go ahead and push the data onto the Postgres data, also into Bauplan. Has it been for you? Like, do you think is it going to be a really good opportunity the people might be targeting or looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. So our target user is either one of these two people. Okay,
Hmm.
so type number one, company between, I don't know, Series B to Series D startup, 50 to 200 people. They need the first data stack.
Hmm.
They basically have an app. They have Postgres. Postgres is great, but Postgres won't do analytics for you, and won't unlock any of these AI marvel and all the goodies that the Lakehouse promise. Okay,
Hmm.
and so come to us and say, hey, I want my first Lakehouse. I don't want to buy into a very big enterprises low platform. I want to get up and running in a day, and that's Bauplan. Plus an ingestion tool. So they get an ingestion tool to go from Postgres to Iceberg, and then you're off to the race. That's target number one. So everybody that likes this feeling would love to work with Bauplan. On the
Okay.
other set, there's like larger company that already have a data platform, and they may have different problem. They don't have the problem that we have nothing in place or we want to start fresh. The problem is nothing gets done here. There's a team whose productivity is impacted by our setup. There are too many tools. It's too complex. It's too expensive. And so you start with Bauplan, again, Lakehouse for the win, by sharing some Iceberg table with whatever solution they have in place. I don't know, S3 tables or whatever. And then you start porting some pipeline and some use cases, some maybe ETL, some write OD publish, some things that you like Git for data for, and you start giving them to Bauplan. And the
Okay.
Lakehouse allows you to pick and choose. We don't have to move the data. There's no migration involved. We can just point to the same underlying manifest and kind of share that with other tool. And this is the second, let's say, big type of use cases that we serve. So ingest like ETL, just in the sense of ETL, not in the sense of ingest, like, write OD publish pattern, bronze, silver, shift left type of things. There may be even a very big company that just want to move some of these out of Snowflake, for example, which is a popular use cases for us. So if you're kind of like one of these two type of teams, I think Bauplan is definitely on target and is definitely worth a chat in a sense.
Oh, that's good. So like people, if you are interested, like of course, I'm gonna be sharing the LinkedIn of the speaker, so you can go ahead and have a chat with them. So like cutting and also moving the things off. So we are of course over an hour. So we would be like, of course, like for the people that are still have been along with us. So I have been sketching off things onto the side of data engineering, right? So if someone, for example, if I am like a startup CTO, like for example, with 100 GB or like terabytes of production data in, for example, Postgres, and I want to build an analytics layer, what is my ideal stack going to be looking like? Shubham, if you want to sketch us around on this.
I think if you just talk about like 100 gigs, right? It's not that high. If you would have asked me the question like a year back, I wouldn't recommend Iceberg. No, yeah, it's pretty big. Like it's you're using like a really big hammer to just like nail a really tiny nail, right? But I would say today it's possible because today most of the complexities are going away with consolidation happening. And like for example, if you use OLake, you don't have to use three other tools, right? Kafka, Debezium, and Spark or something like that. If you want to start your orchestration, you can actually get started with, let's say, Airflow and Bauplan or just Bauplan itself, right? And apart from that, like one final thing is there are a lot of good options for table optimizations like S3 tables or Apache Amoro is one open source option that is available. So today it's definitely possible even for a 100 GB table to get into Iceberg and it would not cost you, or it would not cost you a lot of engineering efforts, or even on the side of the, like, don't have to run the really big
Hmm.
Spark clusters. You can simply run it with a single DuckDB query engine as well, right? So that's
Hmm.
my opinion today. You definitely Iceberg is the choice, and tools which supports the ecosystem.
Hmm. Pretty interesting. So, like, if someone is working onto the side of analytics, it's great to see like how Iceberg can be pretty integral for them. So, on that note, we go on to the particular end of this complete session, targeting all the various things. So for now, people that are already with us, go ahead and like I'm publishing a poll. Drop in your thoughts. So of course, so like if you're someone who is using Lakehouse in production, you can go ahead and mention in the chat box which one, and if you are not using, like what could be the reason for that. So on that note, I'm just waiting for the people to go ahead and vote on this, whatever you think about it. And of course, before we end off, the Q&A is up. If someone have any questions, they can go ahead and drop in, or I have a couple from my end, but we are soon gonna be driving it off because we are driving on to the end of this complete session. So I think we're gonna be okay. So we can go ahead and skip off this poll and okay, so cool. So thanks a lot, and thanks a lot, Jacopo and Shubham, for joining on this particular session. And it's been a good early talk, touching onto the side of AI agents and all the side of onto the side of engineering. Pretty great to see and pretty great to have a chat all around this. And thanks a lot for everyone. It was a great podcast, fireside chat, a great cozy session all around that. And and as we wrap up, I just want to zoom out and look into the bigger picture. So, Apache Iceberg, as I stated, is rapidly being adopted. And if you're someone who's interested and want to connect with the two people that are driving on to this particular ecosystem, I'm sending off the links to connect with our speakers. So, here is the chat. So, you guys can go ahead and connect with the Shubham. So I'm promoting it over stage. So everyone go ahead, connect with Shubham. And once you have done that, you can go ahead and connect with Jacopo. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot, everyone, for driving on to the conversation. And yeah, we are good to go. Okay.
Thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for coming, and thanks again, guys, for having me. I hope it was interesting for everybody else. I'm very easy to reach. If some questions pop up in your mind tonight, you can send me a message on LinkedIn. You can join our Slack. We're super happy to chat. Even if it's not about Bauplan, we are here for the ecosystem and the Iceberg ecosystem, and we're always happy to suggest other solution if we believe that ours doesn't work. But don't be shy. We're very happy to help. Okay.
All right, guys, here are the Slack and our GitHub at OLake. We have such kind of sessions monthly. This was one of our fireside chat. So feel free to scan, check out the GitHub, whatever Bauplan is building, whatever their team are up to, and also OLake and our Slack where we have some meaningful conversations. Thanks a lot for jumping in, and thanks a lot for tuning in, and have a great weekend, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, guys.